Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about helping your veterinary practice attract, engage, and retain clients. Broadcasting a new podcast every Monday from sunny Southern California, here's your host, Brandon Bashirs.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode number 224 of the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. I hope you're doing wonderful. I hope everything is going really well. Today, we're going to be talking all about YouTube ads. And I believe this is going to be a series of YouTube ads, on YouTube ads rather, because there's a lot to talk about. So we're going to try to get through as much as possible today. We're going to be talking about the different ad types and the different placements that are available inside of YouTube, which are actually really extensive. You probably didn't realize that there was so much going on with YouTube ads. So we're going to be talking about all of the opportunities that exist there. And before we begin, I want to mention a couple of things. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. And if you ever have any questions, comments, or need help with anything, the best place to head is over to the Veterinary Marketing Nerds Facebook group. If you go to facebook.com/groups/Veterinary Marketing Nerds. And I want to mention, too, that we have a pre-sale going on for my in-depth YouTube ads course. And it's going to help you to go from nothing to a complete launched YouTube ad that is going to help to attract and engage the perfect clients and the perfect services that you're looking to promote in your practice. So it's going to be a really good training. The price goes up on April 14th. Right now we're pre-selling. You can save $200 if you go to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/YouTube. That's veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/YouTube. All right, let's get into today's episode. So the thing that we're going to try to cover today are all the different placements that exist inside of Facebook. And what do I mean when I say the word placement? So you have the ability to choose where your ad is showing, how it shows, and the format that it shows, and how you engage with the people that are on those platforms. Just a quick recap. The thing about YouTube that's so cool is Google owns YouTube. Obviously, if you didn't know that, they bought YouTube, I think, back in 2004. And what's really cool about YouTube is that you have different segments and different audiences of people. There's things called affinity audiences, in-market segments. You can also create your own audience by putting in different websites and creating a list of traffic that goes like similar to these different websites. You can target channels. You can target searches. There's all kinds of really cool targeting options here. I'll probably talk about targeting options in depth in another episode of the podcast here. But with the video ads, we have these different placements. So once we choose who we're going to show the ads to, the budget, the time frame, all of that stuff, we have to decide where we're actually going to be placing the ads. And so there are actually 6 different ad placements available inside of YouTube that you can do with video ads. And there's also display placements as well, which is just showing a display ad. Like, so for example, if somebody searched for like puppy, how to train your puppy, or what shots does my puppy need, or how do I keep my puppy healthy, like something like that, right? You could put in different keywords because YouTube is the second most used search engine on the internet. You could put in those different keywords and then it'll pop up when somebody searches. And they have these kind of square-looking display ads that you can target. So that's really, really cool. With this, though, we're only talking about if you're using video on your practices, for your practice, rather. So the first is called skippable in-stream ads. So if you've ever watched a YouTube video and you've seen an ad at the front of it, these are probably the most common or most well-known ad types. You can do bumper ads, which are at the beginning. You can do in-stream ads, which are in the middle. You can do the end of video ads. So you can choose all of these different placements so that your video shows up. And with this, there's no requirement in length except that it needs to be, I think, at least 15 seconds long. But beyond that, there's no requirement. So you could put up an hour-long video if you wanted to, and you could have that be an in-stream skippable video ad. The thing is, though, you just want it to be long enough to basically say what it needs to say and then move on. But they are definitely valuable. The thing that I really like about skippable ads is that if you come out and you say who the target audience is, what it is that you're offering, and how you can help them quickly, if somebody pushes that skip button, you don't have to pay for that impression or that view. And so that way you're able to really segment the different audiences there, and say, hey, are you this kind of a person? Are you looking for these kind of services? Do you have a dog or a cat or a horse or a goat? Who are you trying to target? If you said, hey, do you have a goat who needs a veterinarian? Probably a lot of people would skip that, because not too many people have goats unless you live out in the country, right, where there's a lot of goats. So you can quickly kind of segment and identify yourself and what the ad is about, who it's for, and if they're that person, why they should continue watching. If not, just skip it. And you probably have seen those ads that say, hey, are you this person? If not, skip this video. It's not for you. And in doing that, they're saying, hey, don't waste my money. I don't want you to watch this video because you're not going to like it. And ultimately getting to that point where you can say, hey, this is not for you. Move along. It helps them to not feel like they're, being spammed. At the same time, you don't have to pay for those views. So that's fantastic. The other type of ads that we have are called non-skippable in-stream ads. So those are 15-second videos. That's a hard stop. You have to be 15 seconds or shorter, and you can't skip them. And so the reason why they have to be 15 seconds or shorter is because they don't want a minute-long video, because that would make people exit out. But 15 seconds is kind of the point where people will tolerate it, and it forces a view. With non-skippable in-stream ads, you don't have the ability to say, hey, are you a pet owner? Hey, are you a dog owner? You can choose those audiences, and so you could say, we're going to only be showing our ads to dog owners or cat owners. But I think that if you don't have a predefined audience, and you're not using it for a very specific tactic, and we'll talk about some of those uses in a minute here, but I think that those ads are probably not your best bet, at least to start with, just because you're forcing somebody to watch 15 seconds of a video. So number one, it's a little bit too short to really say anything if you're trying to convince a new client. And then number two, you don't really know, if you're just hitting cold audiences, you don't really know who it is that you're targeting and you're hitting. So you typically like to have a little bit longer of an ad. That's why I think skippable in-stream ads are probably better, especially for cold audiences. So people who don't know you, don't like you, and don't trust you yet. But skippable in-stream ads are good for retargeting. If you know for sure that you're going to be targeting people who've been on your site in the past 3 months, for example, that's pretty cool. You can show them a 15-second video. Since, hey, this month at our practice, we have dental month going on, and we have these specials running. So if you're interested, come check them out. And that way you know that you're only hitting current clients. So that's a pretty cool thing, and I think that definitely makes sense with in-stream ads that are not skippable. But again, you have to have the right strategy for that. You have to think about what is the best use of the ad creative, what is the best use of the audiences that we have, and so which placement is going to serve our end goal best. The next type of video ads that YouTube and Google has are called Outstream ads. And these are mobile-only ads, and these are forced autoplay ads. And I'd say that these are the lowest quality ads that you could probably get if you are thinking about, like, how do we grow the practice? These ads autoplay if you're scrolling through different websites like CNN.com or something like that. You've seen those videos that autoplay. These are Outstream ads. And so you're going to get a lot of impressions and a lot of awareness, but it's just not really good for calls to action and direct response marketing, in my opinion, just because it's just so irrelevant. There's not like a huge level of intent, and most practices don't need this level of scale simply because you don't need to reach market saturation with your branding and your messaging. Okay? So Outstream ads are mobile only. They play automatically, and just generally speaking, not relevant to veterinary hospitals, I don't think, just for the reasons that we discussed. Then we have conversion ads, which are you're trying to select the outcome. Conversion ads work great for businesses that are trying to create scale when it comes to selling or taking actions online. And so with conversion ads, you need to have a pretty significant budget. If you are trying to hit, when with conversions and any conversion objective on Google, you need to have at least 15 conversions per day to begin to optimize that conversion action. So that's a pretty significant amount. Let's say you're getting a conversion even at let's say $7 per conversion. That's definitely a good cost per conversion. Let's say that's a person coming into your practice or something like that. That'd be amazing, right? You could get a new client for $7. You're going to be way ROI positive, but to hit that $15 mark, you're going to have to be at a $105 budget per day. So that's definitely something to think about, right? You have to have a budget big enough for conversions, and it's going to automatically begin to learn who the ideal client is and optimize your campaigns for that. So just simply because of the level of scale that you need to have, it's typically not the right placement for a practice. If you're a big corporate group, or you have a lot of clients, or a big budget that you're trying to fill, or you're doing events, or who knows what, if you're trying to get bigger numbers and you have the budget, then it's definitely a good potential. But I really think you have to have it just line up with your end goal. And so if somebody's trying to scale or get to market kind of saturation, that's definitely something to think about there. Then beyond that, we have what are called ad sequences. And ad sequences are really cool because you can basically create a sequence of videos and then deliver those to people in a specific order, which is really cool. I think that some of the applications that would be cool about this that you could use, and some case examples that I think are kind of creative that nobody's really doing, are trying to retarget people that are visiting your employment page. So if you have somebody that visits your employment page, maybe they're thinking about, because I think hiring is such a big issue, especially with ads. If you have the ability to create videos in your practice about your practice, highlight different aspects of the practice. So for example, I'll give you some examples. I have clients that are running ads on LinkedIn. They are trying to hire new vets. And LinkedIn, if you need help with LinkedIn ads for your practice to try to attract new vets, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about this and show you kind of what's working and things. But if you, let's say, had a bunch of traffic and clicks, people that were interested in the ad, they were seeing what's up. And typically, I think that what happens is people are kind of interested in just, I'm curious what is out there. Is the grass greener on the other side type of thing? So if you're getting people who are considering or visiting your application page but aren't filling out applications, you could then create a video sequence that shows them different aspects of the practice in a specific order so that you can really help to build context. You could do the same thing with different groups of people. Let's say you have a puppy potty training guide, or you have some kind of a funnel that's bringing clients in that are interested in a specific service. You could then follow up with additional benefits of your services, different things that they need to be thinking about, different angles with calls to action of come and get our service. So that really helps you to develop a pretty cool funnel, and it gives you a lot more context. And I think too, if you're trying to retarget people, instead of just showing them the same ad over and over again, it's kind of definitely, especially if they've already accepted your offer or they are thinking about you, seeing, a display ad with your practice name and logo is cool, but it'd be way cooler and likely way more effective if they saw a sequence of videos that talked about, the equipment that you have, the procedures that you do, the philosophy on care that you have, some client testimonials and client stories, right? It's just developing such a greater level of context with these potential clients or your potential hires. And it just gives you some really cool tools, in my opinion. Now, the last kind of ads that we have are shopping ads. So if your practice sells a physical product or service, there's a merchant center that you can set up your product or service and then have YouTube shopping ads. And YouTube shopping ads are really cool because it's a link that goes directly below the video. It's a native shopping ad. It just is really, really cool. I think it's a great placement that I haven't seen any veterinary practices use because it is a little bit more complicated to get it set up. With shopping ads, you don't necessarily have the ability to target keywords. Your shopping ad placement is done by the product description, but they know so much data. They have so much data. They know the customer profiles that they have. They know who's shopping on what sites, who's buying what. And so that's why shopping ads are really effective. And so if you have a physical product, whether it's dog food or whether it's pet products or, whatever it is that you have, if you're thinking, hey, I'd like to figure out how do we sell this physical product in our practice, then a YouTube shopping ad might be the good thing to test out and try out to see how it goes. Especially if you've had and are already running shopping ads for your product. Adding video shopping ads, I think, makes sense. The real big benefit with Google and with YouTube is that YouTube has just continued to grow at a pace that's very similar to the growth of the internet. It's growing 40, I want to say that gaming videos alone and consumption of e-gaming, which are video games, that's becoming a huge legitimate sport, especially with the pandemic and things, but that's pushing a huge amount of growth. And with this, it's really interesting just to see the consumption time of video on YouTube is growing huge. So I think that video and YouTube are only going to grow and grow as the internet grows together. Another cool thing about YouTube and Google that you don't really have to worry about, that you might consider with Facebook and Instagram, are that Google has so many different products that's actually hardware products. And so you're able to get a bunch of data that Facebook doesn't have because they don't have any hardware products except for what's called their portal. And so with iOS 14, there's just been a bunch of problems kind of thrown into the mix here where we have, so many people that are not updating their pixels correctly. We have loss of data at a large scale when it comes to conversion tracking and targeting. And so I think having just diversification of our traffic sources here in the future is really, really important, and not just relying on Facebook or Instagram ads to drive clients in the practice, but also Google. I think Google's a really important part of this. Now, let's talk about when you should probably consider these placements. I think especially if you have additional products or services that are complementary to your veterinary practice. So I'm thinking of specifically grooming practice and daycare or boarding. It's a no-brainer to be running YouTube ads for daycare and boarding just because so few daycare and boarding facilities do it. And that is really a product or service that people like to see with their eyes before they make the commitment. What does the facility look like? How does this work? Can I see what it is that we're going to be doing? And giving people that opportunity to see and show them instead of just telling them about your boarding facilities or just tell them that you offer boarding, it makes a big difference in terms of conversion. And so if you have grooming or boarding and you're looking to grow that, especially after coronavirus, where I think a lot of grooming and boarding have been hit pretty hard, it's definitely a good option and a great placement. So these placements, and talking about skippable in-stream ads specifically, because that's the most common ad placement that I think veterinary practices should be using that are not using it currently. If we're talking about what does it cost and what's a good budget, I think you can get a lot done even with a small budget, which is so cool because, again, you have that skipping button. People can skip, and then you're typically getting between 2 and 5 cents per view. So if somebody doesn't push that skip button, it's going to cost you between 2 and 5 cents. So even at $5 a day, you're able to get a tremendous amount of views. You also get a ton of really cool insights as far as where your videos are playing, which videos, let's say you're not choosing a channel, but you're choosing one of these audiences. You can find out what your audience likes because you actually get to see which videos your ads are playing before. You get a ton of really cool data and analytics that are just not available for other ad platforms. So for all of those reasons, I really love YouTube ads, and I think that it's just really underused, and that's why I've kind of been beating this YouTube ad drum, because I think it's something that practices should really take a look at. Again, if you want to get into the YouTube ads course, please head on over to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/YouTube. But if you have any questions, if you have, you're thinking, hey, I want to be running employment ads, how do I do that? Reach out to me, send me a message, and I would love to help you. But if you have any questions, any comments, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll see you soon, and talk to you on the next episode. Have a good day.